Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Throne of Seal based on novel. So let's start. At this time, Star King's utility was distinct. Golden halos rushed out from him to Long Houchen's body, causing the rise of a great warmth. While supplementing spiritual energy for Long Houchen, warming healing abilities treated his wounds. But even so, Long Houchen's wounds would not heal in only a little while. For the sake of hindering Asmodeus, he faced all of the enemy's attacks with his own, giving up on defending. Although his opponent's offense was neutralized thanks to his attacking force, the extent reached by the enemy's strength made it so that every clash put a terrible strain on Long Houchen. The Golden Foundation armor neutralized some of it, but such a long battle involved over 100,000 clashes. Although his body was tough, his blood vessels sustained considerable wounds. Never forget that no matter what could be said, Long Houchen remained only at the 8th step, facing a powerful enemy at the 9th step, the second rank of the 9th step. Even with a comparable dexterity, someone else in the same situation would already have been torn down by an opponent with such powerful spiritual energy. Because of his relation with Hao Yue, Long Houchen's external spiritual energy was far above ordinary people, which is how he managed to hold on, and even wound the opponent and greatly intimidate Asmodeus. After flying for over 50 kilometers, the group gradually landed, and Long Houchen immediately crawled on Star King's back, gasping heavily. In a flash, Kia had joined Long Houchen's side, lending an arm to support him from Star King's back. Han Yu showed no hesitation to join Long Houchen's side and unleash the ability of the spiritual stove of light blessing. Although blessings of light did not have healing effects, it could at least help Long Houchen rapidly recover some spiritual energy. Lin Xin took out a pill and helped take off Long Houchen's mask to insert the pill in his mouth. Even Chen Yinge had moved close to him, instead of caring about Duan Yi and Yang Wenjiao. Everyone surrounded Long Houchen all around. Seeing Long Houchen's pale face, Chen Yinge was dripping with tears. "Boss." Long Houchen forced a smile. "Fool, what are you crying for? Don't you see that I am fine? And how are Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi?" Han Yu said, "I have already been applying some healing magic on him. Thanks to Lin Xin's pills, there is no danger to their lives. However, their wounds are very severe. They will need to be nursed for a certain time before recovering. By chance there is no badly damaged wound." Long Houchen declared, "They are finally saved. Now that we are within the borders of demon territory, we can run against demon troops at any time. We cannot stay in this place for too long. After I regain some strength, let's first get back to the Tower of Eternity." "Yes." Everyone accepted. Kia lent her arm to help Long Houchen sit down. She didn't utter a word, but the pain in her eyes greatly moved Long Houchen emotionally. Touching her small hand suppressed the pain in Long Houchen's body, as he shut his eyes with a smiling face, letting his internal spiritual energy restore his damaged body channels. With the effects of the spiritual stove of light blessings on, his spiritual energy recuperated very fast. Even the spiritual energy stored in his Golden Foundation armor steadfastly recovered. The others sat in a circle very consciously, and Chen Yinge went to take care of Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi. While Zhong Fangfang kept watch, the others all guarded Long Houchen's side. Half an hour later, Long Houchen's face finally recuperated some vigor. Slowly opening his eyes and letting out a spit of blood, he regained his spirits and immediately activated a teleportation with his comrades alongside. On the following day, Long Houchen was in a state of recovery. His wounds were even more severe than the others imagined. For the sake of avoiding affecting his comrades' rescue mission, Long Houchen cut the connection of the soul-sharing chains during his fight against the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus. He had to bear all the damage alone. Not only his blood vessels were damaged, but even his inner organs. The others also underwent rest and recovery. Under the group's great care, Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi's situations improved greatly. Han Yu put healing magic in full use several times, which stabilized his body with the help of the medicinal pills. Yang Wenjiao slowly opened his eyes, feeling extremely heavy, and unable to exert the slightest amount of strength. Only the ounce of warmth coming out from his chest made him feel alive. Ever since his team was annihilated by Asmodeus and he received heavy wounds, his life had been hanging on a thread. Having lost all awareness of time, although awake, he still felt very dizzy. "You are awake." Chen Yinge's voice was filled with pleasant surprise. Yang Wenjiao's pupils finally focused, seeing Chen Yinge blurrily. Seeing her in a white skirt, he couldn't help but feel startled, muttering some words without speaking them out. Chen Yinga retrieved some fresh water, cautiously supporting his upper body with one hand, while her other hand poured some water between his lips. As the fresh water was poured, Yang Wenjiao showed great shock. Yinga, Yinga, his voice was extremely hoarse, far different from its previous dignified tone. It's me. Big bro Wenjiao, are you better? These demon scoundrels actually persecuted you like that. At this point, Chen Yinga's eyes couldn't help but turn red. Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi's wounds were very grave. Yang Wenjiao had over a dozen fractures, and even some of his hands and foot's muscles were broken. Several wounds on his body connected with each other. If not for the originally very good state of his body, even if the demons didn't plan on letting them die like that, he would have long ago joined the side of the goddess of light. Yinga, am I already dead? It's really great that I can see you at the time of my death. I've heard that you were in secluded cultivation all this time. If not for that holy war, I was thinking since long ago about visiting you. Unfortunately, I won't have a chance. I have never come to understand why your attitude totally changed. One day, if I have done something wrong, please stop blaming. Okay. That way, I can peacefully go. I am finally at ease. I just really hate to part with you. Yang Wenjiao seemed to take his last chance to let out all his piled thoughts to her. At last, he finally used up all the force he had regained with great difficulty, and became unconscious once again. I'm not blaming you anymore, don't pass out. In anxiousness, Chen Yinga couldn't help but fall into tears. Hey, don't cry. It's not as if he's gonna die. Sitting nearby, Lin Xin mocked her. Chen Yinga gave him a very fierce long look. What's with you? Has drugs, bro? Are you provoking me? Lin Xin fell in laughter. Just how many times have we examined him? As long as he's given the time, he'll surely recover. You're just losing your mind in concern. I'm even doubting that his previous words were just aiming at winning your sympathy. Bullshit, he's wounded like that, and yet would act on purpose. Do you even have a heart? Chen Yinga broke out in anger. Okay. You've won, stop disturbing everyone with your noise. That was not on purpose, okay? A girl in love is such a fearful thing. Lin Xin immediately raised his hands in surrender, laughing happily. Chen Yinga snorted, just wait. I'll file all my complaints when we meet Sister Li Xin. Reminded that Yang Wenjiao was out of harm, her tears naturally flowed down, but she still held his upper body. Thinking back of several memories from the past, her eyes couldn't help but fill up in warmth. Right at this time, Long Haochen, who was in the midst of cultivation, opened his eyes, immediately catching the attention of Kia standing at his side, who looked at him and asked in concern, "How are you?" Long Haochen smiled in response, "Don't worry, I'm fundamentally all right. The wounds took some of my energy, but it will come back after recovering a bit." With his constitution as sign of light, no light magic was as effective as the self-healing of the pure light essence in his body. With a day and a night of work, all his channels were back to normal. His body was recovering very rapidly as well. Kia sat nearby Long Haochen, nestling against him and holding his hand, softly asking, "Haochen, do you know when I fell in love with you after losing my memories?" Long Haochen shook his head, while rubbing her head with the other hand. Kia asked in a soft voice, "That was right as the holy war had just started, when we were on the verge of separating. On those days you were preparing meals for me, heating soup, and protecting me. I won't ever forget the look you had when taking care of me. After losing my memories, I was very indecisive, but during those days, it was thanks to you that my heart stabilized. If one day, demons don't threaten the alliance, I want to live with you in a natural environment, an area rich in vegetation, with some small wooden houses, where you could prepare meals as I take care of our children. That would be so great." Long Haochen's heart was pulled by Kia's words. Taking his hand out of her grip, he held her waist and revealed longing eyes. "That day will surely come. If everyone is willing, we could choose a place to live and build a small village there. I won't need you to do anything, just letting me look at you at all times will do. We will raise various vegetables, live in wooden houses, raise some domestic animals. I will prepare soup and make meals for the children. In the evenings, I will bring the children to the rooftop to look at the stars. Without the darkness brought by demonkind, the sky at those times will be very, very blue. Nestling against Long Houchen's waist, Kia shut her eyes. This time her face of absolute beauty was filled with bliss. That day will surely come. Kia repeated Long Houchen's words, affirming her feelings. Although their voice was not loud, the surrounding comrades could all hear. Gathering their eyes on Long Houchen and Kia, all sorts of feelings welled up in their hearts. Even the strong-headed Wang Yuan's eyes couldn't help but redden. Will this day surely come to be? Demonkind is that strong. As members of a titled demon hunt squad, could they finally bring such a beautiful ending? Perhaps they would die in the next battle against demons. For a moment, they felt as if choking, but their hearts were in agreement in their feelings of longing. For the sake of bringing this bliss to the most humans possible, they had to fight against demonkind. This great resolution became firm inside them. Patting Kia's back, Long Houchen supported himself into a straight sitting position thanks to her help. Getting up, he was thinking of just holding Kia to soak in that bliss. But he couldn't do that, he just had far too many things to do. He told the group next, it's about time. I am going to scout the demons' movements. The moment I can confirm that the Demon God Emperor's group has arrived in the Exorcist Mountain Pass, we will immediately head out into demon territory, letting the Demon God Emperor know our rough whereabouts to relieve the Exorcist Mountain Pass from danger. Kia immediately opened her eyes and stood up, let me go. I can turn invisible, making it easier to scout. Long Houchen shook his head, it won't do. In front of a mental probing at the Demon God Emperor's level, your invisibility will hardly show effects. Let me go, if something goes wrong, I can immediately teleport back. I will be sure to take extra care. Kia was planning to reply, but had her shoulder pressed on by Long Houchen, who immediately teleported back, after instructing everyone to keep cultivating. In a flash of golden light, Long Houchen was back to the place they came from. The surroundings were an absolutely empty wilderness. After a time of reflection, Long Houchen took off his Golden Essence Foundation armor, putting on a large cloak. Without traveling by flight, he ran quickly toward the Exorcist Mountain Pass. This was for the sake of reducing his release of holy aura. Either the Golden Foundation armor, or his spiritual wings, would release far too much light essence. After running for less than 1,000 meters, an overwhelming mental might swept by. The instant Long Houchen was shrouded by this mental might, he felt his blood congeal. A burst of purplish-golden radiance burst forth from within him. This was a boost Hao Yue gave him after acquiring his sixth head. In some sense, his strength was already mixed with Hao Yue's blood-suppressing force. Without the slightest hesitation, Long Houchen instantly activated the Tower of Eternity, returning inside with a pale look. Only a few minutes had passed from his departure to his return. Seeing Long Houchen coming back so suddenly, everyone was in great shock. It's the Demon God Emperor. Long Houchen affirmed with no hesitation, I could sense his mental scouting. There's no mistake, it's surely him, I recognize that mental aura. What a powerful mental force. If he did that from the Exorcist Mountain Pass, his strength is really far too terrifying. We are at least at a distance of 300 kilometers from there, but his mental force came very near. That irresistible feeling was just too terrifying. Long Houchen just felt as if he was violently suppressed by an almighty presence, still feeling dizzy even until now. Seeing his pale look, everyone couldn't help but exchange looks. To be able to inflict such heavy damage to Long Houchen, who had already killed several low-ranked demon gods, with his mental probing alone at a distance of several hundred kilometers, just what kind of strength could the Demon God Emperor have? Although his evaluation of the Demon God Emperor was already very high, he had after all never crossed hands with this number one of the demon race. Now everyone couldn't help but look at each other in dismay, feeling full of shock. What should we do next then, boss? Asked Sima Xian. Long Houchen had already calmed down, and replied with seriousness, penetrate deep into demon territory with no delay. Just now, I made no prior preparations due to not thinking that the Demon God Emperor's mental probing could reach such a long distance, and didn't protect myself with mental force. At such a long distance, even if he sensed my existence, he couldn't possibly recognize me in such a short time. Remain in the Tower of Eternity, everyone. I am the main instigator of the teleportation, so it will take place where I am for everyone. Even if the Demon God Emperor is even more powerful, his mental probing must have some limitations of range. I will immediately set out, and use mental force protection on myself. Let's see to the rest after entering into demon territory. As long as we pass this hurdle, we can let the demon god emperor know that we are deep in demon territory, and draw him back there. Actually, letting them remain in the Tower of Eternity and cultivate was the best method. The demon god emperor was surely expending quite a lot of force to launch a mental probing of such a large scale, and naturally, could not launch it permanently. Choosing to move when it's off was the safest. But it won't do. What if the demon god emperor takes out his anger on the Exorcist Mountain Pass, due to my absence, let alone an assassin temple? Even the addition of the Night Temple may not necessarily stop the advance of the demon god emperor. The demon god emperor's aim was Long Houchen and Hao Yue, so only their personal appearance in demon territory could attract the demon god emperor's attention. Boss, isn't that too dangerous? Chen Yinga asked in worry. Long Houchen replied, no problem. Even if the demon god emperor confirms my presence, as long as I don't cross hands with him and immediately teleport back, there won't be too much danger. If it is only me alone, I can already complete instant teleportation back to the Tower of Eternity. Cultivate here at ease, I will be all right. For the sake of the Alliance, I will be extremely careful. No one tried to persuade him, as Long Houchen always handled matters reliably, and would make very few uncertain decisions. He had already proved this on countless missions. Although everyone was worried for his safety, they also held absolute confidence towards him. In a flash of golden light, Long Houchen teleported back once again, this time covering his whole body with the protection of his mental force. Right after stepping toward Xingmo Dalu, he immediately rushed frantically toward the opposite direction, making way inside demon territory. If they were to contest in mental force, Long Houchen was far from being an opponent for the demon god emperor. But all he was using his mental force for was to protect his body. At such a large distance, the awareness the demon god emperor would have of him wouldn't be too strong. While rushing at full speed, Long Houchen tried his utmost to perceive the degree of intensity of the demon god emperor's mental scouting. Very rapidly, he understood how the demon god emperor managed to miraculously reach over 300 kilometers distance with his mental scouting. The demon god emperor's mental scouting wasn't multidirectional, but only aiming in one direction, like a light beam shot horizontally. This way, his mental force would be fully gathered in one direction, naturally covering a much greater scouting range. However, even so, the terrifyingness of the demon god emperor caused Houchen to have chills, shaking a bit of his self-confidence to defeat him in the future. These recent years, Long Houchen's strength had been growing at high speed. But at this very moment, he found out shockingly that the gap between the demon god emperor and him was still sky-high. No wonder his grandfather gave him such an assessment. Long Qianying had told Houchen before that the present age's demon god emperor was the most powerful to appear since the descent of the demons 6,000 years ago. He very possibly broke through the million spiritual energy for real, reaching the peak of the 9th step, and close to reaching the legendary boundary of the 10th step. What's the 10th step? That is a god's boundary. And since the demons were originally not from his world, they weren't subjected to the limitations imposed by this world's gods. There are not even records of this level of attainment, because there had never been a human reaching this level. The heavy matter of vanquishing the demon god emperor is still far off. While thinking so, Long Houchen sped along. Just as he estimated, although the demon god emperor's mental scouting would land onto him at some intervals, it couldn't go through the surface of his body. It felt as if Long Houchen was a rock, which the mental scouting only swept past. The demon god emperor's mental scouting didn't get stronger from beginning to end, which means that he shouldn't have found out about Long Houchen's presence. But even so, he didn't dare loosen his vigilance in the slightest, still focusing all his attention on the nearby changes. As soon as some wind blows along the surrounding grass, he would immediately teleport back to the Tower of Eternity. Demon camp outside the Exorcist Mountain Pass. In a deep green tent having just been established, the demon god emperor sat, cross-legged and shutting his both eyes, making special movements with both his hands. This huge tent surface was at least of 500 square meters, extremely wide. But inside the tent were only the two almighty demon gods known as Demon God Emperor and Moon Demon God. The Moon Demon God Agaz was seated calmly behind the Demon God Emperor, a wavering look on his face, as his look swept occasionally through the surroundings. Situations of human demon hunt squads ambushing the Demon God Emperor were already not a rare matter. Although in front of him, these humans had insufficient strength to be considered a threat, they had inexhaustible killing methods, so even the Demon God Emperor had no choice but to be careful. The terrifying mental force of the Demon God Emperor first went through the tent to reach high altitude, before spreading to the surroundings. Otherwise, if the demons in this camp were swept by this terrifying mental force, all would stand limp and wouldn't dare budge. As the second demon god, Agar's strength was the closest to the demon god emperor in all demonkind. But right because of that, he understood how terrifying the demon god emperor's strength was. His strength already overbounded the demon category since long, and was closer to the divine category. Even Agar's trembled in front of his terrifying mental force. He understood clearly that although he could be called the number 2 demon god, even if you were to add up Visago, Saminaga, and Marba's forces, the three of them would definitely not be opponents for the demon god emperor. Without need to mention humans who don't know the extent of the demon god emperor's strength, even their own side's demon gods didn't understand clearly what their ultimate sovereign reached. As the most powerful demon god emperor in demon history, Xiufeng's real thoughts were unclear to all. The overflowing terrifying mental force vanished gradually, as the demon god emperor slowly opened his eyes, revealing a thin smile. "Your Majesty, have you made some discoveries?" Seeing his expression, Agar's asked immediately. Xiufeng had a tranquil smile. He remarked rebukingly, "How many times have I told you that no matter whose presence we are in, you are to call me boss, not your Majesty? We are brothers." Agar smiled at him. Courtesy cannot be abandoned. As the number 2 demon god, I especially have to set the example. Boss prestige will forever be supreme. Xiufeng shook his head with a smile on his face. "Here you go again. Do as you please then." Seeing Xiufeng in a pretty good mood, Agar asked, "Have you made some discoveries, boss?" Xiufeng nodded. "This youngster is really a cunning one." The trails disappeared a split second after appearing. It should be that teleporting ability Arbao spoke about. I am unable to grasp their spatial location too. I'm afraid that's a teleporting treasure of the divine tool class. Agar nodded. It is really going as third brother predicted it. It looks that catching him will really not be an easy matter. Not a strong opponent, but quite a cunning one. The demon god emperor revealed an ounce of disappointment and frustration. What a shame. A shame. Agar looked at Xiufeng with some uncomprehension. "Boss, why is it that I get the feeling that you seem to not really want to kill this human?" Xiufeng's eyes revealed a trace of loneliness as he shook his head. "So what if I do not want to kill him? I still have to kill him. Compared to the prosperity of our large race, what is a single person? Even if that person was Arbao, I'd also have to kill him." Reaching this point, his eyebrows looked up, a cold smile appearing on his handsome face. "These old human bastards are still really showing respect for me. 3 demon hunt squads are lying in wait around us, all formed of members exceeding 200,000 spiritual energy. Are they afraid that I would act against the Exorcist Mountain Pass? But how could they know what the Exorcist Mountain Pass is in my eyes?" Agar's eyes lit up. "Want me to go teach them a lesson, boss?" Xiufeng shook his head. "No need. These guys are quite cunning, and won't easily intervene against us unless it comes to the last resort. I don't feel like paying attention to them. After I handle that matter and get the status of God, I will purge them from earth with a flick of the wrist. Do you know why I have still yet to dispose of them? That's because I want to give humankind the feeling that they are really keeping me under control. This balance cannot be rashly broken, otherwise the life and death struggle with humanity won't be easy for us to settle." Agar nodded. "This holy war's aims should have already been attained. Boss, when should we end it? The damage to us these 2 years is considerable too, but the total population has finally been regulated." Xiufeng asked, "How about the condition on the eastern side?" After Andromalius died, leaving the devil snakes as a headless flock of dragons, the demon god emperor specially dispatched another demon god to keep watch. As the largest source of food supplies, the Eastern Ocean was extremely important. Agar replied, "The current situation is pretty good with the order you gave of speeding up the exploitation of the oceanic resources. Our food supplies for this year are about 30% higher. With the decline of our population due to the Holy War, there will be no issue maintaining ourselves for the time being. Furthermore, since these years you have been encouraging plantations and cultivation, these humans have been quite obedient. The amount of foodstuff is increasing year by year." Xiufeng nodded. "Good. Keep seizing as many human artisans as possible from the Alliance. After the Holy War terminates, this will be our most immediate priority for the future. Also, let's also encourage human reproduction. After our domesticated humans reach sufficient numbers, we can go wipe out the Temple Alliance." I hope to see such a day happen in my living years. Agars showed a smile. Boss has 1,000 years to rule, you're still young. Xiufeng replied indifferently, I'm not young. However, if I can stabilize my foundations as a god, ruling eternally is absolutely not impossible. After I kill that Long Haochen, this holy war can immediately be terminated. Humankind has lost a great deal of strength, and will be sufficiently intimidated. Yes. Long Haochen had been running for 2 days and 2 nights in the wilderness. Trying as far as possible to conceal the pure light essence coming out from him, he could only rely on his 2 legs. After a day of hurried running, he already stopped perceiving the demon god emperor's presence. But even so, he absolutely didn't dare take a break. The most important to them had yet to come. They had to attract the demon god emperor's attention within the shortest time possible. For the sake of increasing his distance from the demon god emperor, Long Haochen had been traveling in an easterly direction. Among all 24 demon provinces, the central province was actually not the most important one. The northwest of the continent was under the Temple Alliance's control, while the demon side controlled the rest of the territory. Looking at the continent as a whole, the central province was actually in the south-central region, the nearest one to it being the southeastern fort protected by the warrior temple. The Exorcist Mountain Pass was considerably far, but demons occupied such a large area, that when alone, Long Haochen was simply able to move without any hindrance. In such circumstances, the demon god emperor would hardly find him for real. On the past 2 days, it wasn't as if Long Haochen was running blindly either. In his rush, he stimulated his internal spiritual energy, treating already most of his internal wounds. Upon entering in Yale province, they could already be considered deep in demon territory, so he could finally relax. Now they needed to make noise to gain the attention of the demon god emperor. From the map Yu Yi handed over to him stored in the Eternal Melody, when he unfolded and examined it, it not only recorded the terrain and towns, but even the garrisoning situation of the various demon clans. But of course, out of consideration for the Holy War, the current situation should have changed to some extent. The Yale province was in a convenient location, its capital Yale City being in the midst of the main road. A demon god should be in garrison there, based on the contents of the map. That was the 57th ranked demon god, Panther demon god Orgzer, commanding the Panther demons stationed in Yale City. Panther demons could not be considered a clan of fighters. They were quite low in numbers, but had their own characteristics. In times of battle, they wouldn't be as tough and valiant as demonic bears or ox demons, but were extremely fast, expert in launching surprise attacks with astonishing offensive force. Expert in both speed and offense, they were close to Jack demons in number, but because of the presence of their demon god bloodline, their strength and position were far above Jack demons. In this Panther demon clan, Long Haochen's target was fixed. Only, he didn't know whether this 57th ranked Panther demon god was or was not in Yale City. No matter whether he would be there or not, Long Haochen already took the decision to tell the demon god emperor about his arrival in deep demon territory with that surprise attack. Activating the Eternal Melody, Long Haochen returned the next instant in the Tower of Eternity. The members of Bright Glimmer of Hope, who were all seated cultivating at the same spot, immediately awoke from the state of cultivation upon Long Haochen's return. Haochen, how are you? Kia stepped forward and was the first to ask. The others gathered round as well, but only Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi were still lying on the ground. However, these two were now awake. After receiving 2 days of care and treatment, they at least wouldn't lose consciousness in a single movement. Long Haochen replied, I have already penetrated deeply in demon territory, and at the present time, I am already in Yale province. Be prepared everyone, I will be teleporting us in the north of the Yale province, approximately 200 kilometers from Yale City, which will be our first target. We will be setting out 2 hours later. Although these 2 days of travel were enough for him to finish recovering, his mind was considerably tired. After all, he had to travel in a state of extreme vigilance, and needed some rest before he could proceed. Everyone nodded successively. Seeing Long Haochen back safe and sound was already a proof that he had broken away from the demon god emperor. Going once again into demon territory, and to launch an assault, how could they not be excited? Each of them were already eager for action. Long Haochen squatted in front of Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi. Brother Yang, Brother Duan, how are your injuries? Is it feeling better? Seeing Long Haochen, Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi couldn't help but have their hearts filled up with all sorts of feelings. After being defeated by the dragon rider demon god Asmodeus, they didn't think they would have the chance to stay alive. And they expected even less to be saved by their greatest rival in the Night Temple. Back in those years, when everyone was undergoing the test to become demon hunters, Long Houchen's cultivation was still far from the two of them. After the elapse of time, although they also hadn't met him for a while, they understood very clearly his achievements of the past. He was the first person to destroy a demon god pillar in human history, the cause for the demon god emperor to launch a holy war, yet backed by the alliance. The killer of a demon god. Each of these achievements were sufficiently shocking, unsurpassable pinnacles. Yang Wenjiao and Duan Yi, being also highly talented knights, were both geniuses in their young ages. If they were in the previous generations, they would surely be the most valued targets of nurturing for the alliance. But as they were born in the same generation as Long Houchen, they were doomed to remain concealed under the background of the sign of light, Houchen. Part 1 end here.